So we're outside the Royal Courts of Justice. I'm here with Noel Wilcox, who's been fighting TfL and allegedly illegal signage or unlawful signage. Now, how did this start off? Noel, what happened? What was the beginning?
Okay, so going back to 2021, summer of 2021, my scaffold company was fined £11,500. These fines just came in through the door.
How much was each fine? Just to
okay,
the
so
LEZ's a bit different from ULEZ.
Yeah, so the LEZ is £100 charge, which I knew nothing about at the time. I discovered this afterwards. The fines after 14 days of not paying £100 is a £1,000 fine. Then after 28 days, it's £1,500 fine.
So just to clarify, it's a £100 daily charge for a non-LEZ vehicle. And it's a £1,000 fine for not paying
within 14 days.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
And then it doubles.
And then it goes an extra £500. So 28 days after you've not paid the £100, the fine will accumulate to £1,500. One penalty charge.
For just one penalty charge.
One penalty charge. Absolutely.
Okay. So obviously you've appealed these. What was the reason for you appealing these fines?
Because the signage didn't make sense to me. And that was the simple explanation on this journey, without me getting into the technicalities of how I unravelled the whole thing. The long and short of it is that what I quickly picked up on is that these signs are not the signs that are prescribed in regulations. Then what happens is that if you want signs that are outside of the ones that are in regulations, you have to apply to the Department for Transport for something called non-standard signs.
Right.
Yeah.
And of course, for just being someone just going about their business, you would think that a sign that's going to charge you money would either say the word charging, like congestion charging, or clean air zone, tolls apply or fees apply, like they do in other clean air zones around the country.
Well, it gives you no information at all. It doesn't even give you the hours of operation. I mean, you're simply just passing something that says ULEZ and LEZ or LEZ.
Yeah.
And you get no other information whatsoever. So immediately that started my suspicions that something wasn't right. What I could not find anywhere online with the LEZ is where these signs were authorised. So I took that to the adjudicator. So I appealed it on that basis to Transport for London. They immediately just gave me a notice of rejection. I then
you won your case?
No, they gave me a notice of rejection. They weren't interested.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Sorry,
when I presented that evidence to them. So I went to the
tribunal.
tribunals.
So rejection of your appeal.
Yes.
Right. Sorry. I understand.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I went to the London tribunals, and it was by way of a telephone conference at that time because of COVID. Yeah, it was on the back end of that, so they weren't actually seeing anyone. And I presented all of this evidence to the adjudicator, and the adjudicator gave Transport for London 21 days to provide the evidence that one, the signs were either the ones that were prescribed in the regulations, or they were otherwise authorised as non-standard signs.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And they didn't do that.
They didn't do that within 21 days, so the adjudicator granted the appeal in my favour.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did you not have trouble with bailiffs and stuff trying to get money?
I did. Yeah.
What happened with that?
So the adjudicator, he said that all penalty charge notices were to be refunded if I paid them, and any fees levied, because the adjudicator was not satisfied that the low emission zone was lawful. And now I can confirm
the signage we're talking about,
that the signage was not lawful, because the signs were not authorised from 2016.
Right.
So what Transport for London, when I was in court on the 20th of March, what Transport for London did, they produced an out-of-date authorisation that nobody had ever seen before.
Right.
So when I checked that authorisation, that went back to the 2002 regulations, not the 2016 regulations, which is when the law changed. They never updated that authorisation because there was new legal framework that had been introduced.
So, cut long story short then, so you've basically won. Your penalty charge notices have been cancelled, they're all quashed now, is that
So
correct?
they cancelled the penalty charge notices because he said that he wasn't satisfied that the LEZ was lawful.
Yep.
He also said that they couldn't levy any charges under that scheme either.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So, and today, tell us about why you're here today. Why have you come to the court today?
Okay, so on the 20th of March last month, I attended the county court in Bedfordshire. The district judge confirmed the adjudicator's decision, and he said, had I paid the charges in the period of the last contravention, the last penalty charge notice, that he would have gladly have granted a refund to me. And he did state as well that Transport for London should not have been levying any charges.
So today, you're on lodging application.
So today, off the back of and taking a lot of legal advice on this, today I am going to submit an application to the court, a declaration, and that's why we're here today at the Royal Courts of Justice, because they've got a higher jurisdiction.
Yep.
That the whole lot is unlawful.
Now, the LEZ signs are very similar to the ULEZ signs.
Yeah.
So are you hoping that there's a similar case where potentially the ULEZ signs could be deemed illegal?
On the legal points that I raised in the adjudication are exactly the same points that I'm raising here, because the ULEZ signs do not display the correct information either.
Yeah, I mean, on our Facebook group, for example, Action Against Unfair ULEZ, many people are saying that the signs don't make much sense, they're not clear. People from out of the area, obviously if you live in London, it's been fairly well publicised, but there's many people getting caught out who are not aware of it. Are we hoping to get refunds for everybody, or is that going to be unrealistic?
Well, that is the name of the game for me. You know, everybody. I personally think that everybody, and I'm not a lawyer. You know, I'm just a normal working class guy that has taken this fight on, because I believe that everybody that has paid any of the fines, any of the charges, should be refunded.
Good. Well, I wish you the best of luck, Noel. Fingers crossed, everything all right. Not these fingers, obviously. I'm just going to bring in Claire Dyer now. Claire, just come here for a second. Thank you.
I've got nothing to say.
No, you have.
I'm just
Claire,
coming to
now, just coincidentally, in your area, a lot of these signs have been taken down. If it is deemed that these signs are illegal, how does that make you feel? Or not unlawful, how does that make you feel?
I think that is great, because it saves a lot of people work taking those signs down. Now, obviously, we don't condone criminal damage, and we don't really want people obviously having to do that. But the fact is, we've known all along that these signs are unlawful, and it's not just
Would
the
you
fact
think that if the signs are unlawful, that actually taking them down isn't unlawful, because you're just taking something down as unlawful?
Well,
Do you
that's
not
how
think?
I feel about it.
Yeah.
I kind of feel that it's a double-edged sword, really, isn't it? Because TfL have been unlawful in the first place, and why are they allowed to get away with it just because of who they are? And it's the same for the Mayor of London.
It does seem
it's a position of power.
It does seem that they seem to be able to make their own rules up as they go along.
And not only that, they're above the law as well. So they're above the law, but their signs are unlawful. But anyone who then takes those signs down is a criminal, and that's criminal damage and punishable by being arrested. So we know that the system is upside down.
It does seem to be, doesn't it? I'm just going to talk to you about some people arrested at a protest in Tooting. They've been known as the Tooting Four. Now, the reason they were arrested at the time, it was unclear. Apparently, they weren't even interviewed at the time. It came to court saying that they were interviewed, and subsequently we found out that they weren't interviewed. But the charges that were levied against them, and they were indeed found guilty in a magistrate's court, was that they were causing harassment, alarm and distress.
Or just someone who wasn't even there.
Well,
wasn't anywhere in the area.
This was my point. He wasn't there, but this was the lead up to an election. Now, surely, campaigning for an election shouldn't be causing harassment, alarm and distress. What do you think about that?
Well, it's bullshit, isn't it?
So you can't say that you want to get Khan out before an election because it's causing harassment, alarm and distress.
Well, there was no harassment, alarm and
No,
distress.
if
you class people, 40, 50 people with children and dinosaur costumes and music in a high street where there are shops, alarm, harm and distress, then you're very soft, aren't you? You haven't got a very thick skin, and I would imagine that the mayor does have a thick skin. I believe that it was for publicity, and it was also, people like to get the sympathy vote and play the victim.
Poor Sadiq Khan and his armoured vehicles.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, many people would say that having bailiffs knocking on their door for unlawful charges is harassment, alarm and distress.
100% it is, isn't it? I mean, it causes a lot
So
of...
it's okay to come to your door demanding money, but we're not allowed to protest about it in your town.
Exactly, and it's happening to so many people, isn't it? I mean, and it's actually ruining people because it's the ripple effect as well, They can't pay the fines, then the bailiffs are at the door, you've got all these charges on top that are just not fair in the first place, but unlawful, let alone then having their car seized, and it's the knock-on effect from that.
Some people would say that, there was a scrappage scheme, why didn't you use it?
Because the scrappage scheme wasn't fair. Some people did well out of it, some people did not do well out of it, and that never gets publicised. So all they do is gloss over and show you the positives and never the negatives. They don't want you to know the negatives. So they don't want you to know all the people that got basically screwed over by the scrapping scheme, you know, got essentially £400 maybe for a car that was worth £3,000. But either way, you know, cars have gone up in price in the last 2 years anyway. So you can buy that car again. You know,
Yeah. In fact, actually,
it's not. You don't even need to. I keep saying you don't need to be political. You don't need to know the law. You don't need to have a degree. You just need to have common sense and to work out that, you know.
So it's not because Sadiq Khan's not white and we don't like white people or something or non-white to say, because that's the honestly that is one of the arguments that people put up, saying, oh, you know, it's because Sadiq Khan's not white.
It's got nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
Keir Starmer's white, and
There we
he's
go.
hated. You know, people are going to use whatever argument that's going to suit their narrative and their agenda. And racism is always the go-to one because it's the one that's always going to silence people and make people too scared to speak out. You know, truth be known, right now, I was actually talking to a black woman for about 2 hours, and you know, the other day, and even I was like going, oh, can I say black? I didn't even know what I could say. She was laughing her head off, and she actually point blank said to me, this was literally a couple of days ago, she said there's actually racism towards white people in the UK now. And I was like, I'm so glad.
Of course.
Yeah, and I said, I'm so glad you said that because there actually is now. It's such a fine line. They're going in now.
So they're going in now to file this application. I won't be able to take my camera in, but I was just going to quickly ask Simon for some questions.
in the back shot.
So-
Jules, the tour man.
Who's this guy?
Jules, London famous.
Is he London famous, is he?
I might go and chat to him in a minute. Just quickly, we've got a sign behind us, the Blackmail Tunnel.
Well,
It is
it's another
black now,
charge,
isn't it?
isn't it?
It is, isn't it?
You know, I'm not the most. I can't say I'm not the most academic person. I understand how people work in human nature.
It's been free for over 100 years,
You
and
know
all of
when
a sudden,
something's
it's
wrong.
now you've got to pay for it.
Yeah, you know when something's wrong.
And it's not per day; it's per trip. So
Yeah.
you've got to pay one way, then you've got to pay the other way,
You know
and
when
if you go back and forth.
You know when something's not fair, not right, morally not right, lawfully not right. This is not right. But it's the same with the Dartford Tunnel and the Dartford Bridge. Didn't they say that that would they wouldn't be forever charging for that? I can't remember now.
That is correct. Yes. So the Blackpool Tunnel, it was the Blackpool Bridge. So it's the Dartford Bridge. Apologies.
Queen
So it was the
Elizabeth.
Queen Elizabeth Bridge. They said that once it had been paid for, the charges would stop. Ken Livingstone became London Mayor and actually said, we're going to carry on charging for it because it's quite a good money spinner.
You know, at the end of the day, they're going to absolutely charge for anything and everything that they possibly can because they want us financially squeezed dry so that we own nothing.
Yeah.
Essentially, so that we own nothing.
Do you think that all these policies are what drive the so-called Blade Runners to do what they do? And obviously, we don't condone criminal activity. Just want to clarify that.
100%, because people have had enough. I mean, you think when ULEZ came in, you know, in the Greater London boroughs, most people were, you know, I'm going to say probably around 90% of people did not agree with it. When have you ever seen people from all walks of life and all ages supporting criminal damage and vandalism?
It's not happened in this country. Certainly not in my lifetime.
Because people know when something is not lawfully right or fair, and it is not right and it's not fair. So
What's that saying? If there's something about resistance is duty or something.
oh,
Do you know it?
know this one.
I don't know the song. Oh, this might be Jeff. Can Jeff come on camera?
Oh,
Jeff
we've
won't
got a
come on camera.
board in it as well.
So,
what is
when
it?
the law is something bad,
When-
resistance
come on.
becomes duty.
When injustice becomes law, resistance becomes duty.
Can I get that on camera?
You can.
Go on.
When injustice becomes law, resistance becomes duty.
duty.
Thank
There
you.
you go.
Thank you,
And
Jeff.
you know what? It is actually happening across the world, isn't it? You know, people are standing up more and more. Is this going to go down? I always say, is this going to go down in a time in history where, you know, as time goes on, more and more people are going to go, no, that's it. You know, I
Yeah.
think it will happen. It will happen. And, you know, if Paper Mile comes in, it will happen again.
I think Paper Mile is coming. There's so many ULEZ cameras appearing on ridiculous amounts of traffic lights in such a short space.
Yeah.
It's got to be Paper Mile.
Yeah.
And Ken Livingstone actually said when he was in power, he said, I want to turn London, the whole of London, into a 20 mile per hour zone. Now, I can't help thinking that he's been told to do something from higher above and someone else is just following the same
They
plan.
just sneak them in as well. You suddenly drive down the road and you're like, oh, it's 20 miles an hour now. There's
Yeah.
no notice, no nothing. You just,
Yeah.
So no.
There we go. Right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Claire Dyer, outside the
Bye.
Royal Courts.
Yeah.
Thank you.